And then slowly look towards the camera. Whew!
You love lashes.
I do. Hi, welcome back to another episode of Books and Looks. And today we have another very special guest. We have our very own librarian, Cherie, which I'm sure you have seen her before if you visited our library. And Cherie is going to talk about a book with us today. So why don't you share a little bit with us about what you're going to be talking about?
Well, since this is the most awesome book to come out at the start of the summer, I was very excited to hear about Project Hail Mary, written by Andy Weir. I'll be talking about this book.
I'm going to start prepping your face as you start giving us a little bit of if you could give us a brief rundown of what this book is about.
Brief rundown because it's a little bit of a thicker book. But Andy Weir, the author, became very famous from his first book, The Martian, which some of you may know from the movie with Matt Damon or the book itself. And he went from basically unknown to, wow, this guy's a hot property. That meant that there was so much excitement when he came out with a second book, because there's always terror. You've got a new favorite author. Are they ever going to write another book? His second book was called Artemis, and it was set on the moon. Artemis is divisive. A whole lot of people
Wait. I'm sorry to interrupt you, but this is also space related.
Also space related. All three of Andy Weir's books are science fiction, space related, variations on near future-ish timelines.
Ah, okay.
So you could sort of see this happening in the next 100 years, or if you grew up watching space stuff, it's not so far out there as to be completely disconnected from what we can think might be possible. These three books stand alone. They're not connected to each other. They follow different characters. They're in different unrelated timelines. Artemis, I had a real hard time with, and I was so disappointed. I just did not like the lead character at all. Could not identify with that many bad decisions made by one person in the course of their life while blaming someone else. So I was excited to see Project Hail Mary coming, but I was also a little apprehensive. I was like, is it going to be good again? Is there going to be the magic, or is he going to double down on the things?
Is he going to fail you once again?
Is it going to double down on the things that made me really not like Artemis? And I'm happy to report that the things that I loved about The Martian are back in Project Hail Mary.
Awesome.
Very few of the things that bugged me about Artemis are in there. So I was excited. This was a protagonist I could root for with a clear conscience. And it was an interesting setup. This time, instead of one guy's life being on the line, this is all of Earth is on an extinction level event peril. So the stakes are really high. And when you meet your protagonist, he is meeting himself as well, because he doesn't know who he is or where he is. And he doesn't realize that he doesn't know who he is until the computer asks him a question, what is your name?
So has this character experienced memory loss? Is that what's happening?
Yes, this character has experienced memory loss, and he has to figure out who he is, where he is, and why he is real fast. I mean, no pressure or anything. What Ryland Grace figures out is his memory starts coming back in chunks. And he figures out that Earth was in peril, that a last-ditch effort was being made to save the Earth, and he seems to be on the ship that was sent to figure out what was wrong and try to fix everything for Earth.
Okay.
And he also figures out real fast that his two crewmates died.
So is it a mystery as to what happened to Earth, or is it told pretty early on in the story?
Pretty early on, you learn what the peril is. The peril is there's something called the Petrova line, which is a line of reddish light that is circling back and forth between the sun and Venus. And okay, that's cool, new atmospheric thing. Well, not cool, because the sun is getting dimmer. But scientists figure out real quick that, oh, this is getting dimmer way fast, and there's every likelihood of a new ice age and extinction level event for Earth in the next 30 years or less.
So by nature, is the sun getting dimmer in the real world?
Well, bad reference, librarian. I didn't fact check this, but Andy
that was another one of my questions. I was going to ask, how accurate were all of these scientific predictions or some of the space references in the book?
well, a lot of this space is science fiction, but there's also physics and stuff at play too. So spoilers, this guy who doesn't remember who he is at first, has to figure that out before he can access the control room for the spaceship, which by the way was really smart ship design. The computer for the ship was designed not to let him into the control room until he could prove that he knew who the heck he was.
So what is this scientist really like? Does he have a personality? Is he a type?
He is. He has a personality. His personality, let me say this. When I read The Martian, in the very first page, you get some serious F-bombs because it's a serious F-bomb situation in The Martian for your main protagonist. Your protagonist here says something like, "Mother fluffer." And he confuses himself thereby. He's like, what am I? Do I have young children or something? If you like books that are from a first person point of view, you spend a lot of time in Ryland Grace's head. And that's characteristic of each of Andy Weir's books, which makes it hard. With Artemis, I didn't like the main character, and you spend a whole lot of the book, like all of it, in her head. One thing that this book does differently than the other two books is it's told in parallel timelines. You meet Ryland Grace in space, but he doesn't know where, why, or even that he is in space. And then you flip right away to him from like 4 years prior when the Petrova line is first discovered. It's a memory flashback.
Okay.
So part of the book is told through his memory flashbacks, but it's not annoying.
So I'm going to jump into a makeup related question for you.
Excellent.
What do you usually do for makeup?
Well, what I usually do, first of all, I am in my mid-40s, so I moisturize.
Okay.
What I usually do for makeup is very little. I cleanse, I moisturize, and I put on a base and eyeshadow. I'm wired to think of the ending before I think of the beginning, and I'm very lazy about makeup removal, which means I'm very judicious about putting on makeup that requires care to remove.
Right, right.
Just on a daily basis. But when I want to be fancy, I can pull out heavier eyeshadow, liner, mascara. If I didn't sleep well, concealer.
I am loving this super cute wash of green that we are putting over your eyelid right now. It is just giving me sci-fi vibes.
I've been hesitant to break out of the very basic eye makeup application techniques that I learned years ago. That means before you were born. And I am really cautious with saturated colors because I don't trust myself. So it's exciting to have someone who knows what they're doing and guaranteed has done a lot more makeup than I have with more modern, recent techniques.
Working with colors is a lot of fun, especially now. I feel like products have changed so much, and even like application products have changed so much that it makes it so easy to just apply your makeup.
I was doing the chair hunch and I didn't even realize it. Ladies, you know what it is, where your head goes up but your shoulders go back.
So how did you learn makeup?
It was interesting because my mother doesn't wear makeup very much at all, and when I was growing up she pretty much didn't at all. So I learned makeup from 17 magazine and the back of the Revlon color palette of eyeshadow.
So did they have like makeup tutorials in the magazines as to where you needed to apply your eyeshadow and your blush and all of that good stuff?
A little bit. They'd have like a rough diagram.
Let's pop on, and you don't have to keep them on.
Lashes. I was cute. No, I was super excited about this.
So another question: What is it that you usually read? Just science fiction, or what is it that you usually like to pick up?
I've spent about half my life, most of my life, I've loved reading science fiction and fantasy. So I have spent a lot of time in those waters. Lately, I've been lazy, so I've been reading more romance. It's got a predictable happy ending generally, and I felt like that predictable and happy ending was something I was looking for.
Okay.
If you want predictable, science fiction isn't always the best.
Okay.
Here's a throwback. I learned about this mascara from your previous guest, Sabrina.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Sabrina, the makeup mogul.
Yes.
I'm going to Trim this slightly.
It's the other thing I never knew. I thought that lashes just came out of the box and you slapped them on your eye. And then one of the tutorials I was watching said, after you trim them to size, I said, whoa, what is this alchemy you're talking about?
Right. You know, the easiest way to apply lashes on your own is to hold a mirror under you. I know it's not the best angle. And look down, so that way it's almost like if your eyes are closed while you're applying your lash, but not exactly. I will always push the lashes up just because I really want them to,
I should have brought in my lash curler.
to stick out. So, not sure if you know this, but there is a movie that is supposed to be coming out from this book that you are reviewing today, and I have heard from a little bird that the lead actor is supposed to be Ryan Gosling.
I could see that. I had heard that, and I'm excited. I could see this being a good movie. And like I said, the protagonist is someone that you mostly want to root for, which is very helpful in a movie and in a book. I would be curious to see how they balance the flashbacks on moving through Earth as a timeline with the Ryland Grace character in space. And I'm super curious to see how they handle the spoiler. I'm very much trying real hard not to spoil.
I am going to hop in with a shimmer. I feel like a lot of what we have done with Cherie is we've got a lot of nice shimmers going on just because space is shimmery. Cherie, you are looking glowing, you are looking dazzling, very much like a star in space, just like my vision was. And thank you so much for bringing Project Hail Mary by Andy Weir. This is something that I feel like I would really want to pick up and read, especially because it involves, like the end of the world.
Give it a try, y'all. It's worth it. If you were disappointed by Artemis but loved The Martian, pick this book up. You're gonna love it.
You heard it here first. And of course, it is available to check out at our library. So reserve it if it's already checked out and get it in your hand so that you can read it. And we hope to see you at the library.